If you're applying for a green card outside of the United States, you're most likely waiting for a visa interview. In this video, like we do every single month, we'll give you the status of the different embassies and consulates that are processing these visas. Maybe your country will be mentioned in this video as well, and if not, please let us know. So let's do it again, run through all the embassies and consulates that currently schedule interview appointments and let you know what's their current status. Hello everybody and welcome back to Immigration Channel. This is where we explain complex immigration matters in short, simple videos. We make immigration easy. And in this video, we'll give you a rundown of all the embassies and consulates that process currently immigration visas and what's their status in terms of are they open, are they working on less capacity, and what cases they are processing at the moment to help you anticipate when you'll get an interview as well. So in this video, as I mentioned, we're going to go over the different embassies and consulates and see their statuses to help you understand why you're getting a visa interview, why it's delayed. While I can provide specific timeframes for visa interviews, at least the status of the embassies will help you understand why your case is being delayed. Once again, if you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos, and also give us a big like so YouTube will be able to show this video to more people just like you. So the first embassy we're going to cover is the US Embassy in Jakarta, Indonesia. This embassy has resumed routine visa services both on immigrant and non-immigrant visa categories. And currently they are processing K1 visas, CR1s, and all other categories of immigrant visas in this particular post. This post is also being used as a third country nationals post. Some applicants who want to move the cases to a different post can send those cases to this embassy. They've been open and receptive to receive third country national cases. Moving to US embassies in Canada, the US embassies in Montreal resumed visa processing for all categories. They're processing immigrant visas, K1 visas, and things are definitely moving a little bit faster. This embassy has a lot of interview waivers as well, both for immigrant and non-immigrant visas that help them also speed up processing of applications. The only delays we have seen in Canada and Toronto is the schedule of appointments for E2 visas. Still, those are delayed. People are waiting for over 8 weeks for E2 applications. So if you're one of those people applying in those embassies, be patient because your turn will come as well. Moving to US embassies in China, the US Embassy in Beijing and consulates in Guangzhou resumed routine visa services. They're processing immigrant and non-immigrant visas. We've seen delays in K1 processing from China. So if you have K1 applications that are going from China, be prepared for severe delays and lack of communication from this particular embassy. When it comes to non-immigrant visas, those are still remain delayed and the embassies are working on a limited capacity, specifically in Beijing and Guangzhou. So this applies to H-1B, student visas, and any other non-immigrant visas. To US embassies in India, Mumbai specifically, and consulates in New Delhi. All these posts have resumed routine visa services. Specifically, if you're looking at non-immigrant visas, India has a very, very high processing right now of student visas and quite speedy. This was one of the first posts to reopen student visa processing after the pandemic, and they continue to lead in the number of student visas that they're processing in India. With respect to immigrant visas, Mumbai is still slow. While they're working routinely on processing cases, it's still slow. A lot of applicants are waiting for CR1s, IR1s, are reporting that MVC is not sending cases to India in the numbers that we're expecting. And of course, because visa bulletin has retrogressed, so a lot of green card holders that were hoping to receive their appointments, so a lot of green card holders that were marrying foreign nationals that were hoping to get their visa interview scheduled are very disappointed by the recent visa bulletins because they really retrogressed really far back, and as a result, applicants from those countries are not able to get their appointments. As well as in the employment-based sections, if you look at the visa bulletin, you can see EB1 retrogressed for a decade. And so a lot of applicants who were hoping to get their interview schedules are no longer able to do so, because in addition to getting your case documentary complete, you also need to have your priority date current for an embassy to open a slot for an interview for MVC to send your case to the embassy. And because a lot of applicants from India are not current, their cases are not going to be scheduled for interviews, irrespective of how busy the embassies are. Moving to Pakistan, the US Embassy in Islamabad. This embassy just like the embassies in India, resumed routine visa services. They are open, they are processing. However, because of the large demand of visa appointments at this post, they are still very slow, and applicants are waiting quite a few years to receive their appointments. And a few of the applicants are wondering whether they can take legal action against the State Department and this post. Well, it varies. In some cases you can. If you're waiting for your interview too long, let's say over 2 years, you potentially could be eligible for a mandamus lawsuit. It's important to speak to an attorney to evaluate your case and see if you qualify. Again, this is one of those posts that has a lot of these problems because they are not able to process cases as fast as they should. And we have a lot of applicants who are waiting for their appointments. Even though they were documentally qualified in 2021, they still don't have visa interviews. And those of you that are watching and now you're applying to the embassy in Islamabad and you became documentally qualified just a few months ago, let's say April, March, even May, and you're wondering when you're going to get your visa interview, well, you're not going to get it this year for sure because you have applicants that are waiting since 2021 to get their appointments in Islamabad for marriage cases, IR1s, CR1s, and they're still not able to get those interviews. So it's definitely slow. They're working on getting more officers to this embassy. The State Department is working on getting more officers to this post to be able to process cases fast. Also, some visa interviews are happening, but again, it is what it is. It's the reality that if you haven't done your expedite to try to expedite your case through National Visa Center, if you haven't done that yet, try. And like I said, in some cases, if you qualify after waiting for a while, you may be eligible to move your case from Islamabad to a different post. But again, don't do this as a first option. Try to exhaust all the other options to try to expedite your case before considering moving your case from Islamabad. Moving to the US Embassy in Lagos, Nigeria, and the Consulate in Abuja, they are not working fully. They are limited appointments for immigrant and non-immigrant visas. And so a lot of our clients from Nigeria are kind of frustrated because they've been documentally complete already for over a year and still MVC is not able to send their cases to the US Embassy over there in Lagos. Again, the reason is because Lagos is not opening cases. Right now, we get reports that they're still processing certain IR1 cases from December of 2021, and the recent ones we've seen are February of 2022, but nothing after that. So again, do the math, look at your cases. If your cases are before February of 2022, then maybe you have a chance to get scheduled very soon. But if you're after, then it's very difficult to predict when your applications will be sent to, when this embassy will open interview slots for cases like yours. Also, K1 visas are severely delayed in Lagos. Moving to Brazil, US Embassies and Consulates in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro specifically, resumed routine visa services, processing K1 visas, IR1, CR1s. Again, we don't have specific dates as to what cases they're processing, but from the reports that we have from our team and other forms that we are reading, it looks like January of 2022 is the soft spot for a lot of cases that were documentally complete and are now getting their interviews. Doesn't mean if your cases were documentally complete later that you're not going to get your interviews. It's just the average of what we've seen from our research is what people are getting their interview scheduled at the moment. If you have cases in Sudan, the US Embassy in Khartoum suspended all visa processing because of the serious situation in that country, and so your cases will be transferred to another country. Stay tuned. You get an email from the State Department and they'll tell you which embassy is now designated to process those cases. Moving to Thailand, the US Embassy in Bangkok resumed routine visa services. They're processing non-immigrant and immigrant visa cases. They are current, more or less, and they're also being used as a third country national embassy. So if you have cases stuck in other countries, you can move your case to Bangkok if they accept it, and you'll be able to process your case there. Once again, how to do that, we've done a video explaining exactly how to move your case from one embassy to another. Remember to speak to your immigration attorney before moving your case from one post to another, because in some cases it could cause even further delay. Non-immigrant visas being processed fairly quickly in Thailand, specifically F1 student visas. Moving to Mexico, visa services in Mexico vary from city to city and are also limited, specifically in Ciudad Juarez. If you have cases stuck in that embassy, make sure that you follow up with the post and National Visa Center. Also remember, they have a lot of waiver cases in Mexico, so even if your document is complete and even if your priority is current, if you need to do a waiver, do not schedule your appointment, do not go to the appointment, reschedule the appointment if your waiver is not approved yet. Otherwise, it's going to result in the denial of your application and you'll be stuck overseas, not being able to come back to the United States. So make sure if you do have a waiver case that needs to be submitted, wait for the waiver to be approved first before attending the interview in Mexico. The U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv resumed routine visa services. They're processing non-immigrant, immigrant visa cases, and they also used the third country national visa embassy post for countries like sometimes Ukraine and Russia. The other embassies in Europe are using Tel Aviv as a third country post, so make sure you check with Tel Aviv before moving your case over there. E2 visa cases are also being processed there fairly quickly. It's a really good post, very professional, and they respond to emails fairly quickly as well. And finally, we're going to cover Manila. If you have cases pending at the U.S. Embassy in Manila, they resumed routine visa services. They are working fairly fast, but remember again, if you're from the Philippines, you have a lot of issues with your priority dates. Now with the visa bulletin retrogress so much in many categories, even if you document your complete, make sure you check your priority date because you may not qualify to get a visa and this post. And the reason why they're not opening interview slots is because the embassy has a limited number of appointments and they will only open them based on their capacity and their ability to interview people. This is the end of our roundup for this particular video. This is the information we have so far to provide to you. Once we have more information or if we haven't covered your post, let me know in the comments and we'll add that in our next video. Again, if you need help with your immigration matter, you're stuck at the embassy, you're frustrated with your visa process, text me 619-483-4549. I'm here to help you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.